For decades, home buyers were told one simple rule: don't spend more than 30% of your income on housing. But a new Bankrate analysis says that rule no longer works in today's market, and for many buyers, it's not even close. The typical U.S. household now needs to spend 43% of its income to afford a median-priced home, far above that long-standing 30% guideline we were just talking about. High home prices, elevated mortgage rates, and a shortage of homes for sale are pushing ownership out of reach for many would-be buyers. In most large U.S. metros, renting is now more affordable than buying, forcing many households to delay ownership or rethink where and when to buy. To help us make sense of all this and what it means for buyers heading into 2026, we're joined by Bankrate home lending expert Linda Bell. Linda, thank you for your time this morning. In short, what has changed here and how quickly did this happen?
Well, as you mentioned, high home prices, elevated mortgage rates, tight inventory across many parts of the country are really stinging homeowners. Now, the real issue is home prices. Home prices on average have jumped about 50% since 2020, the pandemic, while wages have only risen about 22% since early 2021. And that gap is really what's creating the bottleneck for a lot of homeowners in terms of buying a home. The wages aren't going as far as they used to go many years ago.
It's kind of a vicious cycle, too, because you have rates that have really kind of held steady, it seems like, for the last year. They're not really going up or down at this point. But then you also have this supply issue because people who have those low rates just aren't willing to leave their home. So is that kind of playing into this as well?
Definitely. I mean, you had record low mortgage rates during the pandemic. Some homeowners have 2%, 3%, 4%, 5% mortgage rates. And it really doesn't make sense to move when you think about, okay, I'm going to buy a home, an additional home, or replace the current home that I'm in and buy a new home. And it's like, wait, the home prices are even more than what I paid before for my home. And I'm going to give up those extra low mortgage rates and be paying more. So a lot of homeowners are like, you know what, I'll stay put because it makes better sense. And they've decided instead to renovate or do things to their current home to make it livable. But the thing is that they're staying put.
And for these people who maybe have bought really in the peak in the last year or so, many of them now spending 40% of the income is this new number we're hearing. Does that make you house poor at that point? And what actually happens to folks when they get that over leveraged?
Well, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're house poor. It really depends on how much wages you have and your other expenses like your debt. And my main thing is for people to know, okay, the 43% number may sound intimidating, but really what you should do is look at your residual income. Look at how much income you have, how much your expenses are, your mandatory expenses, and take one number, subtract the other, and see what you have left. Are you comfortable with that number? Does that allow you to save for retirement? Does that allow you to save for an emergency fund? I'm not talking about that trip to Bali that you want or that luxury car. That's extra expenses that you could put towards your income. But it's important to see your mandatory expenses. Can you handle that? Maybe that 43% is right for you, maybe not. Actually, in Atlanta, people are spending about 35% of their income. So it really depends on your personal situation.
You know, I also saw a report last week on CNBC that home prices went negative for the first time in a couple of years in Atlanta. They're down 3% over last year on average, more than the national average. So do you see that negative trend continue with home pricing? I mean, using your crystal ball, what do you see for the next few years?
Well, I'll say a lot of experts are saying, listen, we've seen huge home price appreciation over the past few years. We may see home prices continue to appreciate, but not at the level as we've seen this year. Because this year we have record home prices nationally, more than 400,000, and even more so in certain parts of the country, especially the coastal areas. So I would say home prices will continue to appreciate nationally, but different areas and different markets around the country, it could vary based on different things like industries coming into the area, things like population growth, a lot of different issues.
Linda Bell from Bankrate, thank you so much for your time this morning and happy holidays to you.
Same to you. Thank